Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. We'll get started in a minute or two, just waiting for everyone to join.
Hello, Jordan. Hi, Adija.
Hi, good morning slash good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon from our end.
Good to see you all.
Hello.
All right, I think we can get started. All right, we'll wait for people to join in. Hopefully we get more people coming along, but yeah, we can get started. The recording is underway, so I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone for taking the time to join us today. It's great to see many familiar faces in the room. Yeah, before I begin, I just wanted to see if people could type into the chat your name and organization so we have a sense of who's here. And yeah, also you can feel free to add a quick sentence about what you hope to learn from today's session. Would be great. And yeah, on behalf of the Biniyog Briddhi program, I'm really pleased to welcome you to today's event titled Using Impact Insights for Commercial Growth. Today, we'll have a special opportunity to hear it directly from two impact-driven enterprises creating significant positive change for underserved customers across Bangladesh. So iFarmer is an agri-tech enterprise, and Apon Bazaar, a retail and fintech enterprise, both received social impact incentives, also known as SIINC, funding from the Briddhi program in 2020. The SIINC funding they received is linked to their achievement of certain impact metrics that were co-created together during the contract structuring process a few years ago. Since then, we've had the pleasure of monitoring the impact performance of both companies and financially rewarding them for their performance on gender, income improvements, and more. And during our discussion today, we'll have the chance to hear from both impact enterprises and learn more about their journey with impact measurement and management, how SIINC funding helped unlock commercial benefits, and how other entrepreneurs like yourselves can similarly leverage insights collected from impact data for operational purposes. So maybe we'll move to the next slide. Who is actually controlling the slides?
I'm sharing the screen, but I'm not sure about who has the slides. I can give the admin rights to the person sharing the slides.
Yeah, I'm happy to share them. No
Okay, then I'll
problem.
give you the rights. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot. Everyone see my screen? Maybe give me a thumbs up on Zoom if you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Great. So we already saw this lovely banner we put together and explained a little bit more about iFarmer and Apon Bazaar. But yeah, I wanted to also just maybe before I do a quick high-level overview of the Briddhi program, I wanted to quickly introduce myself and my colleague Adrija, who will be co-hosting today's event. For those who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Jordan. I'm an associate on the Impact Intelligence and Education team at Roots of Impact. And within the Briddhi program, I help support primarily the SIINC Impact Ready Matching Fund program, or IRMF, as well as our Impact Link Finance Readiness Bootcamp. Adrija, would you want to quickly say a few words? Introduce yourself?
So, hi, I'm Aditya. It's so nice to see some familiar faces as well. I am also an associate in the Impact Intelligence and Education team. I've been working with the Biniyog Briddhi program and supporting different, like pretty much all of the pillars in some ways or the other over the last 2 years. Great to be here and really looking forward to the conversations of the day. Thanks, Jordan. Over to you.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Adrija. So as most of you might know, Briddhi is a public-private development partnership funded by the Swiss Embassy in Bangladesh and run by Roots of Impact and Light Castle Partners. The program launched in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic and helps seed both the demand and supply sides of the impact investing and impact entrepreneurship ecosystems within Bangladesh. For impact-driven entrepreneurs, we offer multiple support mechanisms, including within both the capacity building and catalytic funding pillars of the program. This includes SIINC, which we're going to be discussing a little bit more today, as well as IRMF, as I mentioned earlier, but also includes other tailored programs such as Voucher Scheme and our Impact Link Finance Readiness Bootcamp, where entrepreneurs can benefit from hands-on support in impact measurement and management and investment readiness from expert mentors and local incubators and accelerators. And next year, we are very excited to kick off another 4-year phase of Briddhi, which means that we will soon launch more calls for applications from impact-driven enterprises for these programs that I mentioned. So please be on the lookout for more information about how to receive support from us. So yeah, maybe I'll actually go straight ahead to the agenda, and then I'll ask if anyone has questions. But yeah, we're nearly finished with the kickoff segment, and then we'll soon proceed to begin a moderated panel discussion with iFarmer and Apon. My colleague Adrija will be moderating that panel for 30 minutes. And following that, we will set up breakout rooms for all of you to join for 20 minutes. There will be 2 breakout rooms. So one for iFarmer and one for Apon. And you're free to choose either room to join to be able to ask questions directly to the respective panelists. And then following that, we will reconvene in the main room and then close today's event with some parting thank yous. So does anyone have questions on the agenda or anything I should take note of before we introduce the panelists and then I hand it over to Adrija? Okay. If not, feel free to type into the chat. We have a couple of people from the program here, of course, so if you have anything you want to ask, feel free. You can answer them there. Great. So here's the banner again. Now I have the pleasure of introducing today's panelists. Very excited to have 4 amazing people on the call today. Really happy. I'll start with Apon Bazaar first, so working from the left side to the right. So starting off, we have Saif Rashid. Saif is the co-founder and managing director of Apon Bazaar. He has been recognized as an Ashoka Fellow and a Schwab Social Entrepreneur for his contributions to the field. Prior to founding Apon, Saif served as the CEO of Jaita Social Business, Bangladesh. He has over 7 years of experience working in various managerial roles at CARE Bangladesh and has accumulated over 19 years of work experience in his career. In 2023, Saif was among the leaders recognized by the Meaningful Business 100, which is a global community of leaders whose business actions have resulted in a positive impact aligned with the UN global goals. So super excited to have you on the call today, Saif. Thanks a lot for joining us. And he's also accompanied by Yasser Arafat, who's the co-founder and director of business at Apon Bazaar. Yasir has over 11 years of professional experience in the field of startup operations, marketing, entrepreneurship development, partnership development, opportunity hacking, nutritional and financial well-being creation for industrial workers, and social business. Currently, he works as the head of operations. Before that, he held the position of lead supply chain and partnerships at Jian, Bangladesh. He also worked as a project manager at Change Associates on a project funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. aimed at achieving financial inclusion for ready-made garment workers in Bangladesh. So yeah, really excited to have him here as well. And then I move on to iFarmer. So we have Fahad Ifaz, who's the co-founder and CEO of iFarmer. He envisions to create innovative, sustainable, and resilient solutions for people across Bangladesh, specifically in the agriculture sector. He strongly believes that businesses and entrepreneurs play a vital role in human development. And before starting iFarmer, Fahad spent 10 years in the market systems development and private sector development field, and previously co-founded and led startups, including a consulting firm and a technology company. And then lastly, last but not least, we're very pleased to welcome Archie Ananya, who works as the Impact and Partnerships Manager at iFarmer. She is a social development practitioner who's passionate about promoting gender equality and economic empowerment for women. She has over 4 years of professional experience in strategic communications, fundraising, project management, grants, and donor management. And she's dedicated to empowering marginalized communities while ensuring business sustainability. So very excited to introduce today's panelists. Thank you all again for joining. These panelists are all familiar with the SIINC funding program. They'll be able to speak at length about impact measurement and management as well. So yeah, looking forward to hearing their insights. And with that, Adrija, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks so much for that, Jordan. So yeah, thanks a lot, firstly, to all the panelists for taking out the time to do this. And now just to ensure that, we leave enough time for the breakout groups as well, I will just kick this off with my first question already. So for Saif, perhaps, would you like to quickly run us through Apon Bazaar, what it does and why it's impactful?
Sure, thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So Apon Bazaar is a financial inclusion company. We serve the ready-made garment sector, textile workers in Bangladesh through a retail store chain. So we have physical stores inside factory where the workers can get access to mainly groceries and financial services. So by doing that, they also get access to health, free health service through insurance. We have started operation from 2017, and currently we are in 32 factories serving around 100,000 plus workers in Bangladesh. That's what we do. That's our operations. Our main objective is to ensure financial well-being and economic well-being of textile workers in Bangladesh through a business model which is profitable and viable.
Thanks, Saif. Very interesting. Could I also quickly ask you to reflect a bit on why you decided to start Apon Bazaar in the first place?
I don't know whether I can answer this in 3 minutes, but because there are a lot of different reasons. I think the main point that I would like to start with in this question as opportunity is that sometime from my experience of working with impact business, what I have seen is there are businesses with impact. There are a lot of businesses with impact. For example, a telco might have impact which they create in terms of employment. They create impact on income generation for people. There are businesses you need which is for impact. And sometimes this for impact business suffer because they have to trade off with their impact and commercial model. So my ambition was that I do something that is commercially viable and it's for impact. So impact is not an offshoot. So sometimes commercial model are used for impact. So these are long conversation, but I think that was before starting Apon with my previous organization. My experience was that when we focus on impact, sometimes the trade-offs is so critical that it doesn't really sustain the business, or you cannot really scale the business. So that was some of the challenges I have faced in my past experiences. So Apon was one of the, I think, try to make sure that, yeah, commercial sustainability and impact goes hand in hand. and it could be scalable, it could be profitable.
Thank you so much, Saif. That I think that also like really neatly dovetails into my next question, which is that prior to your involvement with, and this I would probably pose to Yasir, that prior to your involvement with Briddhi, did you already start to measure impact? And if so, what was the process like then? Over to you, Yasir.
Yeah, I think I'm audible, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, we did. Actually, this is like our second venture. We had Jita, as Jordan was telling. So we were used to, or like we are familiar with having the impact enterprises. So we had, and I can easily recall, like just after COVID, when we were discussing with you guys, there were 13 impact metrics that we used to like measure. So let's say like here we are measuring how much a person's saving in a particular month, but there that is kind of the outcome. But there we used to measure here almost 6 metrics, like how much credit we are providing to a customer, how much discount they are getting. So we used to take like 13 metrics, and you know, like when there is 13 metric, it's already cluttered to focus on. So we had those, obviously, but in a bigger version, like what we used to do. Maybe Fahad is smiling because when we used to work in NGOs, like we had to deal with those kind of things, and how much impact, how many metric we can measure was the thing that we had to deal with. So we were in a situation like that, I guess, when we are in 2020.
Super interesting. Thanks, Yasir. With that, I would also like to now hear from Fahad on these similar questions. That okay, coming back to iFarmer, what inspired you to start iFarmer, and why is it impactful?
Thank you, Adrija. I won't be as diplomatic as Saif-Bhai was. So why I started iFarmer was because of my frustration after working almost for 12 years in the agriculture and rural development. And it felt like that even though I worked in private sector development and most of my work was with private sector, but the money was still coming from donors. And of course, in recent times, there's been a lot of focus on sustainability and systemic change and all this stuff. But it felt like that it is happening in a very slow pace. There's not enough incentive or market forces working here. And most of the work, even though it's about sustainability, it felt like everything is around project, right? It's more project driven, sustainable development. The project ends probably, you have 20% of the impact that remains post project, and 80% is gone once the money is gone. And that probably sort of ticked off this idea about iFarmer, because I have been working in agriculture and felt like, well, let's try and build a market-driven solution around agriculture. And honestly, it was we never really thought about a startup. I was actually telling someone yesterday that when me and Jamil we started the company, I don't think we understood anything about fundraising, valuation, and all those games that you need to play when you're a startup. We wanted to build a business that makes money and that helps farmers. Right? That was one simple, clean thing we had in our mind. And why is it impact driven? I think in terms of the space we work in, agriculture, and we have about 20 million farmers in the country. 80% of them are smallholder farmers. We have about 50-60% women involved in farmers. But the challenge is that farmers are still sort of invisible in the mainstream economy, right? Banks don't recognize them. Insurance companies don't recognize farms. So we wanted to change that. And that's why I think it's impactful, because at the end of the day, the target is to make sure that farmers they feel they have the right tools to be more entrepreneurial, and at the same time, institutions and even largely societies recognize them as entrepreneurs and treat them as entrepreneurs. And once we go there, I think we'll have a very good ecosystem where farmers a new generation of farmers are coming into the play, because the reality is that we have a growing population. At the same time, we have a declining population who's interested in farming. So the question is who will produce their food in the future, in the next 15, 20 years? And that's why I believe our work today is impactful.
Thank you. Thanks for those insights. And yeah, absolutely appreciate the honesty. I think if there's any other setting that deserves a lot of honesty, it's definitely this. So I will also now invite you to like reflect a little bit as to, you know, before you joined BBD, was there also like a push towards measuring impact? And if so, what kind of measures did you take, and were the costs justified for you?
I think both me, Sci-Fi in the room, we're sort of we belong to a different category of entrepreneurs, I believe, because as you mentioned, he worked almost for 19, 20 years in private sector development with NGOs. At some point, I think we both worked for the same NGO in different countries. So impact was sort of, I think, ingrained because of my past career and whatnot. So when we started iFarmer, I think I was having a conversation with Jamil when we were just sort of building teams, and I said we need an impact team, and we didn't have any money, anything, right? And he was like, well, we don't have money to hire accountants. How do we build an impact team? I was like, well, let's at least, even if we don't have the money today, but let's at least keep this on the table so that we don't really forget about impact. So on day one, of course, we didn't have an impact mandate or team or targets or anything. But at least it was there on the table. We didn't just shut it down that we don't have money, so we won't do it. But because it was on the table, it was in the back of our mind, we were looking for opportunities, right? Any opportunity that we could get, we just jump onto that. So we started applying for, that's how it started. We started applying for all these, grants and partnerships with NGOs and stuff, not because we really wanted those partnerships, but it also helped us to, sort of define the idea, define the impact indicators, the metrics, the targets and stuff. And then we started building a team, and Archie came in, and maybe she can talk about that, the struggles and the challenges when we started. But in terms of resource, I think our first partnership was with CARE, and we went to CARE, and I remember telling the management of CARE that, look, we don't really have that money to engage on all those monitoring and results measurement stuff. If you help us, we'll really appreciate the support. And definitely CARE helped us a lot to start with. So those partnerships, because it was a win-win. It was not that we're asking too much. It was not that they're giving away too much for us. It was a win-win because they needed this, we needed this, and it was a match, and we asked for support. And I think that's something a lot of startups could actually explore. Back then, when we started, startup was probably not a word, or impact businesses were probably not a word that a lot of NGOs would really connect to, or INGOs would really connect to. But now I see a lot of startups and impact businesses are doing partnerships with a lot of nonprofits. So I think that's a good way to start. If you don't have resources, the nonprofits are there to support you, but take that support, but don't get dependent on that support. That's how I would put it. We have the target that eventually we will build our own impact team, we will invest our own resources, and that's what we're doing currently. Not really dependent on any donor NGOs.
Thanks for that, Val. Just a quick follow-up. So just so that the room is also a little bit more aware, how long into the journey could you really have your own impact team?
I think because of my urgency, I think we had the team after 1 year of operation.
That's incredible. That's super nice to hear. All right. So with that, I will also now like to hear a bit from Archie. Could you please tell us how did, say, iFarmer hear about BBD? What was your thought process when you thought of applying to the programs? And yeah, what motivated you basically to get involved with BBD? Over to you, Archie.
Yeah, so SIINC was actually the first impact-driven initiative that I personally worked on after I joined iFarmer. I was like presented with a metrics data set where we had to figure out which metrics we go for, and that was when I came in because that discussion was ongoing. Maxime, Valpai, they were talking about how iFarmer can fit this in and how we can actually work through it. I think Valpai can actually talk about where we heard it from because by the time I joined, we were working on setting the metrics. And I think
that's long time ago. So I think that before you answer the process, I think it was like Castle Maxime who somehow found us out. Maxime visited our office one day, and that's when it started. But even then, I think the first time we met,
that would be 2019, right, Fahad?
Yeah, around 2019, and I think we actually applied, and then the conversation started around 2020, somewhere early mid 2020. So yeah, and it was not a new thing for us in a way because by then we have already been in operation for at least a year or two, and we already had some impact. We already had an impact team. We started applying for or working with some partners. So that was already sort of there. But of course, I can later talk about how Briddhi was different than the other partnerships we had then. So yeah, sorry, Archie. You can still talk about the indicators. It was an interesting journey. I'm sure Maxime remembers.
Yeah, I'll just move on with how we decided the metrics because it was a very long process of it, and it was I think I was 2 months in iFarmer after once I started to work with that. So at the get-go, we do what we do at iFarmer for the farmers and with the farmers at the center of it, right? And currently we're at 100,000 plus farmers with us, but as Valpai said, there are like 20 million smallholder farmers in the country, and we have a long way to go. So when we were co-developing the metrics, we kept in mind approaches on how we can catalyze the impact we can create on the farmers. So, but it might not essentially be the core business targets, but we can still embed this metrics into our business functions to ensure that every business team is carrying out their function in a more impactful manner, right? And if we put subcategories of our key stakeholders from an impact perspective, it would be the smallholder farmers and the women farmers, right? So hence, when we were working on setting the metrics, we kept in mind how we can actually serve targeting these two subcategories, how we can serve them better, how we can design services more effectively for these two subcategories. So we set the metrics aiming to catalyze the impact for these two groups of people, and hence we came up with the two metric that we have been measuring since 2021, which is the percentage of small and marginalized farmers we support who opt in to invest in critical areas of farming, which are any area that helps them generate further income, and also the percentage of female farmers supported. And that essentially really worked out for us because as a business, we wouldn't have the capacity to focus particularly on female farmers or smallholder farmers, but through setting these metrics, it helped us embed that into the business functions, right? Because we then set the target for the field financing team so that they can onboard targeting the female farmers. They have specific month-on-month targets now, which helps them keep it be on track on making sure that we are onboarding enough female farmers. On the other end of it, looking particularly at the smallholder farmers and making sure that they're utilizing the financing we provide in areas that helps them become more financially stable. And we went out to measure them, we actually found a lot of improvement areas within the business, and we made changes accordingly based on the feedback we found while measuring these metrics. So yeah.
That's very interesting. Thanks, Archie. So I also just want to so that the room hears a little bit more about the process of coming up with the metrics. What were like some of the initial inputs that say you got to offer that sort of drove this selection for this category of farmers that were supported through the SIINC?
Sorry, the question is for Archie or me?
Yeah, it's for Archie still. It's a follow-up to Archie's response. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question, Adrija, please?
No, no worries. So I was just curious, like, because an idea is also to sort of take the room through the SIINC process. So since it's co-developed, would there be like anything that you'd like to share in terms of the experience of the metrics co-development as to what was, say, iFarmer thinking around picking this particular category of users for the SIINC metrics?
So as we said, like when we were discussing with Maxim, we actually looked at our current database where we looked at the number of female farmers, we looked at the number of smallholder farmers so far. And we also like went ahead with like the services that we provide currently and try to look into ways on how we can improve that further, focusing in these two categories. Because as I said, like from an impact perspective, these are the two subcategories that we would want to focus on. Hence, when we were actually like working on the metrics, we looked into particularly these two groups, keeping in mind that these are our current numbers and how do we actually accelerate the number as well as make sure that we are reaching them, not just by reaching them, but actually making a positive impact that's measurable for us at the end of the day.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Archie. With that, I think I'll go back to Saif once again and speak to Saif a little bit about how you heard about the BBD program and your experience with SIINC. Over to you, Saif.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was, I think before starting the BBD, I met with Maxim and Swiss Embassy, and that was, I think, somehow they were discussing about starting this kind of a project, and we were part of that discussion. So Maxim came to our office, and first time I met with Maxim, and I think we had an office of like 5 people. We just started, and the idea was exciting. We had done something exciting. Yeah, but so that was the start. Before, so during the ideation, we had the opportunity to talk with SIINC of the project, and when they started the project, I think we got a mail from Maxim and saying that I mean, the opportunity is now here, apply, and that's how we know, and we were from the conversation. We were in the conversation before starting of the project. Yeah, so but it was very exciting process because, as I said, I think so, because my past experience of working with impact business NGOs, what happens is like impact could be measured in different ways. Like at NGO, we make it so complex that people don't understand. I mean, so complex. So for example, when you measure the impact of nutrition, we'd say that, okay, how we measure the frequency of diseases, what kind of diseases the participant have, and how that reduce their cost or how that increase their cost. So you go into such detail that they spend tons of money on just impact measurement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the journey helped us when we talked with BBD and the process of building the KPIs was that what are the things we need to measure for the business and what are the things we need to measure for the impact. And that took 6 months. It's not a simple issue because we had like 13 and business KPIs were like another 6. So it's 18 KPIs we are talking about. Now, the best thing that happened, and I shared this with everybody when I talked about SIINC, is that we merged this together. So we don't have a separate impact. And nobody does this because everybody sees impact measurement. Impact measurement is a big thing, and they spend a lot of money in collecting data. If we can make this same, you don't actually collect data for impact. You collect data for your business, which is your day-to-day activity. And without doing that, you cannot actually run your business. You cannot really make decisions. So it becomes core part of your business. And that's what is happening with Apon, that we don't have a separate impact measurement. It's very built in with our operation, with our supply chain, with our HR, with our, so each department has the divided KPI, which is part of the impact KPIs. So that's how we made it simplified. And that's, I'm very, I mean, the most thing I'm thankful about is that thing, because it changed our game. It changed our way of working.
That's very interesting to hear, Saib. So just again, for the advantage of the room, would you like to take some example, say, of a KPI, which is like this whole idea of the overlap between what is an impact KPI and commercial KPI? What would that, like, give us an example of what that could look like in the case of Apon, or what it does look like in the case of Apon?
Sure. I think Arafat can add, but I will start with this, because Arafat is the person who deals day in and day out with this. But so, for example, in our operation, our impact KPI is like average savings generated by the workers, because our target is that workers have better economic well-being, right? Because workers in textile sector, they earn average $120. Now it's increased to $150 around, but that's $120. We wanted to increase that income. And the way we increase that income is that by reducing their cost. We reduce their health cost, we reduce their consumption, and that's how we increase their income around 13 to 20%. So this 13 to 20% income is our main impact, right? So we increase the workers' real income by 13 to 20%. Now, for impact, I mean, SIINC wanted to see, okay, how much you want to increase, right? So our main KPI in SIINC was that what is the amount of increase of income for the workers? Now, we take this for operation, that if we want to increase income, we need to sell more. Because if we sell more, they will have more saving, right? And so that's we divided, just a simple example that we divided to the operation, saying that number of people consumed, which is like how many people are consuming from Apon, and their average basket size. So if they are purchasing 2,000 taka, they will automatically save 200, which is $2, right? So that becomes operation KPI. And by doing that, you actually achieving the average savings for the workers. I don't know whether it makes sense, but the top of these two KPI is actually the saving. So the output of these two KPIs. So these two KPI that operation is managing, the average basket size and the number of customer, is actually the output is average savings by the workers.
Very interesting. Yeah, that was kind of what I was looking to also hear about a little bit more. Yasir, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, Saib just told like the journey we had with Maxim, like at the very beginning. So just to add on another example is you guys know RMG worker has more, RMG industry has more than 60% female workers. But when we were sharing the data with the Roots of Impact team, so the data was exactly 38 to 39% female customer we used to serve. But you see, like the out of total 100, our majority customers are female, but we are serving less female customers. So that was a very insightful thing we found at that time. And as per the suggestion, it came like female customers should be a target. And in the last month, when we shared like the last data with you, it's more than 43 to 4%. So with the interventions, then when we took that as a KPI, I was telling like we took everything inside our business. So impact will not be a byproduct for us. So impact will be integrated with the business. We said when it got as a strategic priority. So, you know, there will be always interventions for that. So we had multiple interventions for female customers. Just for example, the female will purchase but the gift will go to her husband. So we even like do fun like with this kind of offers for our customers, because we know there is a social stigma that in Bangladesh, mostly the male worker buy their grocery. So the female will buy here, but the gift will go to Bhaiya. So, so that those kind of like different, we had like separate booths, separate offers for the female customer. Even we set a separate gondola for female customers so that they can even buy privately if they want. So let's say like another thing we did just to increase this KPI, that if like rice and oil, those are heavy items. So it's same for everyone, right? But when a female customer come to buy a sack of rice, they can't carry it. So what we did, like we offered them 30 taka rickshaw fare. So if you buy a sack of rice and oil, then you're gonna get 30 taka rickshaw fare. So I think we could have managed to did those because of the support from Roots of Impact. Obviously, there is research support and also the thought process, which was main. Like we got the chance, we took everything in the table and set our priority, like where we should go. I think there the impact and focusing there for 2.5 years, I think it's already in our vein. Everyone knows, like in every step, even like he joining yesterday, today he can say like what is your KPI, and you will see like that's bonded with everyone's activity here at Apon.
That's very encouraging to hear. Thanks for sharing, Yasir, and also those really innovative ideas around sort of encouraging women customers to come forward. So as the last and kind of like a follow-up and also kind of like the closing question for Apon, I would like to know that all of this data that you've been collecting through the process of SIINC and even otherwise, how does like which other aspects does it help you? Like, does it help in your fundraising? You did describe a little bit how it helps in your commercial operations, but yeah, how does it help in your external relationship building?
Yeah, I'm taking first, and then Saibe, please add if you want. So obviously, like it was like with all our vein for our operation. But regarding fundraising, I think there was a big KPI of to raise $0.5 million to get the third installment. We were really focusing on that because there was a crisis at the time. There was COVID, and everyone was facing challenges in raising fund. Then we had to think like in a different way, that what are the other sources if the foreign investor tell just to wait, but SIINC will not wait. Although we requested Maxim to be gave us some extra time to raise our fund, but
I fought with Maxim, I guess.
yes,
I mean,
there was
yeah, just also to clarify the scope of my question, what would be nice to hear is like the data that you collected through your metrics. How do you use those like for your external relationship building? Like it could be fundraising, it could be other partnerships.
Yeah, of course.
No,
Of course. So,
I think one of the important part that I don't want to miss, so I'm sorry, Arafat.
Please.
But the point is, for an entrepreneur, when you expand your business, I think one of the important thing is impact is built in with your business, with KPI, but also the people, the people who are joining new, who are already working, is part of their work as well, right? So translating that is a very core internal beside business. Translating that as a culture, translating that as a part of value of the employees was a very big part of this whole journey, I think. I mean, people at a retail store, so for example, all Bangladeshis knows Shopno, right? So if you go to a Shopno store, if you talk with executive, how much you would get about the values of Shopno from that executive? I think that's the difference we try to make, is our executive in the field is same way knows about what we are doing, how we are doing this, why we are doing this, and what is the impact we are carrying. So this translation from the top to bottom of the organization and the value part of the team is a very internal, I think, game, internal impact, and that's I think a long term for the organization. I mean, that you can see as an entrepreneur. I'm very proud of. And the second part, in terms of the like external relation, we used to have a slide about our impact, right? So and most of the company, I was saying that there are companies who have impact. Most of the companies have some impact, right? And everybody can say, yes, we are creating impact. Like a company who is selling caramelized water will also say that, okay, I'm creating employment in Africa. But as a business, I think we, and iFarmer, I think is the same, is our whole process of starting the business was to create something impact for somebody. So we are very targeted. We're very focused on something, right? And the purpose of our creation was that. Now, but still, when we used to present, we had a separate slide saying that, okay, this is the impact we create. I think that has been merged, and so why I'm saying this is like people used to see impact as a cherry on the cake. So you do business, you do everything. Okay, what is the impact? What is additional you are doing? What impact is like additional thing. Impact is like something to show off, something to like as a beauty element, right? But it's not the case. It's impact is something for us specifically. It's our business. I mean, that's the core part of us. So it merged into your slides, it merged into your presentation much more in a better way. And we didn't show presentation slides saying that, okay, we are selling this amount of money, but I mean, we are telling that, but we are saying that, okay, this is generating this amount of saving for them. So it's a balanced way of doing things. I think that helped in terms of fundraising. By the way, we have got, I think we'll be announcing very soon, but we have got an international impact investor joining with us very soon, and we'll be announcing very soon about the raise, which was not part of, I mean, SIINC reporting, but obviously it's a result of SIINC because we have shared a lot of research data that is done by SIINC and Light Castle Partners. So that's a very big news, I think, out of this whole journey with SIINC.
That's incredible. Congratulations, and also thanks a lot for sharing all your insights. Just in the interest of time, and I also see that there's an audience question. Just one last question from my side to iFarmer, and then we can move on to other audience questions as well. So please bear with me, and I will now move on to Fahad. So could you please just share a little bit in terms of, what would you think are some of like ways in which Briddhi was a little bit different for you? And also clubbing this with my another question, which is what kind of advice would you want to give to other impact entrepreneurs in Bangladesh who want to really have like a solid impact foundation?
Thank you. So I think the difference between Briddhi and other projects was, first of all, as I said, I don't think we've spent almost a quarter defining indicators with any other programs that we work with. It was a difficult process, and honestly, at times I think we got frustrated. I don't know if Maxime and the team at the Roots of Impact side, they got frustrated or not, but it was helpful at the end of the day because a couple of things happened. I think we got more clarity because I felt probably we want, as I mentioned, when I think just like Apon, when we started, we had that impact focus and it was sort of tied to the business, right? It sort of came very naturally, right? Because the whole tied to the business part was that if farmers don't really get value out of iFarmer, we don't really have a business in the long run, right? So it sort of came to us naturally, but the downside of that was just because it comes naturally, you don't really go really deep into it. So those months that we spent in terms of setting the indicators, that really helped us to think through and think in much more details about things which we thought is happening because of our work, because of our mandate. It just happens, right? We didn't really think deep about that. During that time, I think we also sort of started redesigning our impact team as well. That was also another thing we realized we have to do. If we have to get into the details, the things that we don't really understand, we actually roped in an impact advisor during that time, who still continues to work with us more on a strategic level. And the other thing was operational changes, right? We made quite a few operational changes in terms of how we collect data, what kind of data we collect, which was not just for SIINC reporting. I think now it's sort of helping us in our other operations, in our supply chain business, in our operational planning and stuff. So definitely, I think it was different because, and I'll be also honest about the difference here is that there are programs where, well, you apply, and people looks at your application, the indicators, and they're like, yeah, okay, great work. Here's the money, and these are the deliverables, and you need to just deliver on them. That's it. Even I think the whole deliverables process with Briddhi is different, right? Every quarter, every time we submit the data, there's a meeting, there's a call where we have to answer a bunch of questions, which again helps us to think through, right? Because then you don't really want to put things which you can't really justify, or if you can't really back those, and it does not really connect with your story, then it's very difficult to explain things. It's very easy to write something and send it over an email, but it's equally difficult if you have to explain that in a meeting, and you have to justify the numbers and the evidence that you're presenting. So I think that's also very, very helpful in a way. So yeah, I think that would be it. And the advice would be, I think Saipai sort of touched on this, that, and I really believe in this, any business you start in Bangladesh, there's always an impact angle, right? Now, whether you look at it or not, that's a different question. But any business or any startup that's sort of in the market right now, there is an impact angle. Now, my advice would be to, even if someone, an entrepreneur or a startup founder, does not really understand impact, then they should try to learn more about it, because honestly, it's not just impact, but also it solves a lot of fundraising pressure as well. Because I think startups don't really explore the whole impact fund world. We only run after VCs and PE funds and whatnot, but there's also this other world which has emerged and evolved, and I think, as I said at the beginning, it's much more startup friendly now, and founders should be able to take advantage of that. But to take that advantage, at least as a founder, I should know the scope of impact and try to see, does my company, my business fall into that broad spectrum of the impact world, or the impact metrics that are out there. So yeah, learning about impact, I think that would be the first thing any startup founder should do. And the reason they should do it is because there is possible, if you can do it right, there's also funding on the table. So you're not only running after one kind of funders, now you open up another option for you and your business. So yeah.
It's incredible to hear. Thank you. Yeah, and I guess also super important insight. If I may, I see that there's a question from the audience about whether startups are compromising their long-term sustainability for short-term impact, long-term viability for short-term impact. And I see Akash has posed that question. Who would like to take that question to kick us off? Maybe, I don't know, Archie, would you like to weigh in? Or I see Saif is raising his hand. Okay, go ahead, Saif.
I think Archie should go ahead first.
Yeah, I think as sort of like the non-founder, it would be interesting to hear.
So me, Archie.
I've spoken about this before with particularly Maxime and Nadrija, both of you guys, because it is quite a struggle, because being a development background person and working with very core business teams who are driven by bringing in revenue for the company, it is a constant struggle. And like to be very honest, we had our fair share of struggle for a very long period of time, because for any business team to buy into the idea that you have to do some things in addition to make sure that your business function is done in an impactful manner, that itself, that buying in, that process itself is quite long. But I think like for iFarmer, what worked out was, since our core stakeholders are the farmers, it's very not easy, but it's still like doable, where everyone in the company can resonate with the idea that whatever we're doing, it is for making a lasting impact on the livelihoods of the farmers. Regardless we exist or not, these farmers can still thrive with or without iFarmer support. I think that is a notion that every like individual in the company can resonate with. So it got easier with time, and it gets easier when we can work together, because I don't think like along the way, I think I realized that we will never be able to create a meaningful, lasting impact if it's just the impact team in the company working towards it. It absolutely has to be a collaborative effort where every business team buys into the idea and works together with you, and they actually help you out in achieving these targets, that impact targets, and might not be a business target, but it is still embedded into your business function. I think that was the starting point for us, because right now it's a collaborative environment where I am getting firsthand feedback from the field, something that a farmer tells me and my team, and we document these findings and we relay that to the business teams to help them identify those improvement areas, those gaps, and that in turn actually helps them out like in the longer run, right? So they help me out with providing me with the data that I need to like design my survey, and I help them out with these firsthand insights that I get from the farmers themselves. And I think it like the moment the environment gets that collaborative, it gets easier, because I cannot let go of the fact that it needs to be business-wise viable, whatever I do. And the business teams are not supposed to let go of their drive towards revenue and just focus on impact. So we kind of like found a environment where we can coexist and help each other out. But yeah, it was a struggle, but I think we're at a better place now.
Yeah.
I think Archie is being very nice here. It's a continuous struggle. We still, but I think it's a healthy way of there should be this debate within companies, and it's not a problem to solve. The way I look at it is two different poles, right? You have like, if someone is aware about polarity management, it's just north and south pole, they both exist. You just have to find your own energy between these two poles, rather than saying, well, this is right, I stand here and I don't really care about the other pole. Sorry, Sanbhai,
Sorry, I will have to cut us all off so that we can hear from Fabliha. I think she has a question or a comment. Please, over to you, Fabliha.
Hi everyone, I'm Fabliha Mahfouz, currently serving at Shambhu Jobs. I had two questions actually. Question is to Archie Apu, since you were talking about the business metrics. So what would be your suggestions for us new startups on deciding on our business metrics? And my second question would be to Saif Bhai. Bhai, since you talked about you face some challenges on translating data from the locals. So what major challenges did you face, and how did you overcome those challenges? Thank you.
Thanks for the questions, Fabliha, and they are very similar to Fareen's question. So over to you, Archie.
I think like coming from what I said earlier, the way we set our targets was identifying what we have in hand right now and what we aim to do, and where are the areas that we want to improve further, more than what we're doing currently. So I think that's a good place to start. If you know how you want to improve, which are the particular areas that you want to catalyze impact in, I think that's a starting point for any business. Because if you're clear on where you aim to be, it gets easier to work towards it. When you have it defined, this is exactly what I want to be achieving down the line. I think that makes it easier, if that helps.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm afraid that we are at the end of time. I hope we could address most of the questions that the audience had. And now I'd like to hand over to Maxime to just like thank everyone and have share some closing remarks. Over to you, Maxime.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Fahad, Ochi, Saif, and Arafat. Thank you so much for taking the time to share all these valuable learnings. I know as part of the SIINC process, there might be time of frustrations. Could be challenging, but I'm also very happy to hear and grow with you along the time. Every time we get to speak after the verification, as much as it's great to hear, oh, it helped you, it's also great to hear and learn from you how you have been incorporating the impact matrix and what you've been measuring into your operational betterment and how to optimize it. For me, that's always the best part of my day whenever I get to get onto these calls and see how you really turn impact measurement into something magical and work in the business domain. And I hope we get to, through events like this, and also hopefully with many more to come, to share exactly with the entrepreneurs who would tend to have a lot of areas that they could generate impact, but become more intentional about it. Because what I heard from all the conversation basically is, what is particularly helpful is once you are get the clarity about what exactly is the impact that you're trying to create and how you can create that, it becomes easier to talk internally with all your teams and also externally to investors and help them to understand what exactly are you trying to do, and hopefully also help you to fundraise. With that, yeah, that's my last comment. Thank you so much. Really value your time and input very much, as always. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I'd just like to echo Maxime's sentiments. And yeah, over to you, Jordan, if you'd just like to close this. Thanks.
Yeah, no, just want to say a big thank you again to the panelists and everyone for attending. I know towards the end of the year, we have so many deadlines that we're pushing up against. So really appreciate you all taking the time to join us today to hear such valuable insights. So I hope, yeah, the learnings will be useful. As you probably have seen, this session is recorded, so we will be following up with the recording later in case you want to watch anything. And yeah, we'll be sharing maybe some insights about today's session on social media, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I wish everyone yeah, good rest of the year and Happy New Year soon. So thank you everyone for joining, and take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.